Every day without lime is considered forbidden. None of the 1,000 confusions ever. There was no shortage. Hello, friends from the Middle East, especially when I was little. The news about Israel and Palestine. Orsha Pansengdo, Osim Bakan Saki, the case had flared up so much that we would see news related to that subject every day. And somehow I couldn't make sense of it at that time. Why so much? It's about the horror of blood. It's still very hard to make sense of some things. But today, friends, a brand new Palestine, Israel. The war came to the agenda and officially war started today. I will talk about these events and also a little bit on immediately after the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in World War I in Palestine's territory. We are in this part known as the region's control pass to the British. There was a Jewish minority as well as an Arab majority living here. The international community saw when England was given the task of establishing a national homeland for Jews in Palestine, the tension between the two peoples increased. Defending that these are ancient lands, Palestinians were opposing this. And among the fractures, the number of Jews seeking a homeland after fleeing persecution in Europe and the genocide during World War II increased. You are calm. The reaction to the British administration was also growing. In 1947, the United Nations divided Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states and Jerusalem. He pointed out it being a separate city under the surveillance of United Nations. This plan was accepted by Jewish leaders. However, the Arabs rejected it. This condition, this could never be implemented. From that day to this day, my friends, our tension between Palestine and Israel continues. There's such a mess there that even the it changes day by day. One day, a part of it is in Israel's hands. One day, some of them are Palestinian. If you ask what these men fundamentally can't share, there are many disagreements in between. What will happen to the Palestinian refugees, whether the occupied West Bank or Davidic settlements will remain, is whether the two sides will share Jerusalem. Perhaps the hardest is next to an Israel in Palestine, as soon as the state was established. Questions. Peace talks have been going on for about 30 years, but of course we understand that with the outbreak of war today, reached no conclusion. I woke up with a shock this morning when I opened Twitter, but perhaps a very distant chapter for us. There was a war, but in the end it was in the Middle East, and this war between Israel and Palestine was always a chilling war targeting civilians. And I saw such things today as well. Unfortunately, I won't be able to leave many visuals about the subject here. However, how did the incident start? What happened after the operation? I can explain a bit. In the morning hours, referred to as a terrorist organization by many countries and carrying out the defense of Palestine. Hamas launched a surprise attack and entered some settlements in the south of Israel. The Israeli Defense Minister immediately followed the incident. We have to declare that a big mistake was made today and a big war against Israel was started. Hamas was so well prepared for this attack that suddenly hundreds of bombs began to be thrown around Gaza and near Tel Aviv. Civilians got caught. Many people were held hostage. The high-ranking Hamas official said thousands of rockets were fired. The attack of the Israeli Air Force was too late. Subtitle MK. A large part was under control. The Gaza air attack started at noon today. Hamas leader, however, prayed after the attacks from Gaza to Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, we are at war. The enemy will pay an unprecedented price. We are going to win this war. He made a statement again at noon today. As I said, I won't be able to put too many images of civilians being killed. After being killed and brought to the city of Asia and greeted with enthusiasm, it causes incredible reactions in the Western media. Turkey was divided into two again. The first is our Palestinian brothers, what's supporting our Muslim brothers. Someone also had to be on the side of Israel. In my opinion, Erdogan made the most reasonable explanation. He said that calmness was needed for both sides. Playing in pairs at this point is really very important because, as I always say, we are not an Islamic state or anything, and we don't have a brother in Islamic terms. This goes back to recent history in terms of Palestine's history. If we look at what it did to Turkey, we will actually understand that there is no such brotherhood situation. However, at this point, it's definitely not all white in Israel because it had attacked civilians in Israel in time. However, this does not justify anything. Does it become legitimate self-defense to attack civilians again because civilians were attacked? My answer to the question is at least no. I think just because it's Muslim to support Hamas or because it's Islamophobic to support Israel, two nonsense thoughts. There were also many statements from Turkish politics. Karamollaoğlu, Fatih Erbakan, the general president of the Yeniden Refah Party, and Ahmet Davutoğlu, a bit more conservative Sena, took a stance against Israel. TKP, Turkey Communist, he stated in Palestine that he is against Israel. He said that a state needs to be established. You are already seeing it on the screen. The country made statements about the subject. The West, of course, supports Israel more, while Islamic states support Hamas. Turkey took a neutral stance. I met an Israeli girl, and he had literally told me the history of this event by crying. In summary, with all its details, that is the situation in Israel. It's been very complex for years, friends. Think that you are going to the mall with your friends in Tel Aviv, Israel, for example. Suddenly an attack happens. He goes into the mall with a shotgun and conducts random attacks like this. Or one day you could be suddenly attacked while walking in the capital. Life on pins and needles. That day I realized that this blood will never stop because there is no solution. I mean, in a Palestine, even if a state were to be established, there are so many disparate and potentially hostile groups living there, and so much scam is so made. So there is such a bloody history that it is impossible for these people to live in peace again, even if a state is established. But on the one hand, I think this operation of Hamas really dealt a big blow to the state of Israel. But at the same time, it actually passed the trump card to Israel to be able to launch much more severe attacks, because Israel is a much stronger state. Once with the Western friends. In a few days, we could witness this. A bloodbath in Palestine. This many people died in Palestine. These are events that will happen. Let me give you the info ahead of time. And that's all the details on the subject. Friends, thanks for listening. See you again tomorrow. Take care of yourself.